Hi guys, my name is Sam Evans. Welcome to the channel. Fantastic to have you here. BMW is about to go bankrupt. No, they're not about to go bankrupt, but I'm telling you now, if they do what they just said they're going to do, they will go bankrupt. Now, I drive a BMW X5, but I'm looking forward to getting either a BYD SUV, probably this year, potentially. But I'd also love to get a Tesla Model Y, and I have a pre-order in for the Cybertruck. Fingers crossed it comes soon. But I'm not holding my breath because Tesla has over 1 million pre-orders for the Cybertruck. Yep, you heard that right. They have over 1 million pre-orders. 1 million cars. So I don't think Australia is going to be a high priority for Tesla. Not for a while. Anyhow, BMW just said they expect to sell 50% of their car fleet to be electric by 2030 and 50% to be gas powered. If they follow through with that plan, then they will almost certainly go bankrupt because there is zero chance there will be a market demand for petrol vehicles in 2030. In fact, no more than 1% of the market will be gas or diesel or petrol powered by 2030. You can almost guarantee that. At its annual general meeting, the BMW Group announced its intention to avoid the emission of more than 200 million tonnes of CO2 by 2030, but obviously to create another 200 million tonnes in the process. The German automaker said this will involve more cleaner drives, but also factors such as the production and recycling of vehicles. In order to achieve the announced savings of 200 million tonnes of CO2, the company wants to reduce the CO2 footprint of its vehicles over their entire life, from raw material extraction and production to the use, phase, and end of life recycling. An important component is the drive mix of the vehicles sold. Based on its current market expectations, the BMW Group expects at least 50% of its global sales to consist of fully electric vehicles by 2030. This means that in the next 10 years, a total of around 10 million BEVs will be put on the road. In return, BMW wants to offer only what is really in demand in the case of internal combustion vehicles, according to CEO Oliver Zips. He said at the AGM that about half of today's drive variants will no longer exist by 2025. Now guys, one of the reasons why people won't want a gas-powered vehicle in 2030 is because the cost of electricity will continue to decline. In fact, it's going to fall off a cliff because more and more countries, in fact, I believe all countries of the world will adopt solar, wind, and battery storage as their primary method of energy production. This will enormously cut the cost of energy. Enormously, the cost of batteries, solar, and wind will dramatically continue to decline as it has for the past 50 years. Over the past 10 years, the cost of solar has declined by a further 89%. In the previous 10 years before that, it declined by more than 200%. Those same cost declines will occur across those three technologies, meaning that by 2030, the production of energy will be almost free worldwide. Yes, I know that sounds ambitious. However, that's what I believe is going to happen. Do you want to power your car with gas, right? With gas, when an electric vehicle will most certainly be cheaper to purchase and most certainly be cheaper to run and most certainly be cheaper to service, you'd have to be mental. Anyway, there was also some criticism surrounding BMW's AGM, partly due to the SUV heavy model policy and partly of the scope and timetable of the electric transition. Jamie Werning from Union Investment criticised the half-hearted commitment to electromobility, saying that it is insufficient in the environment of the current electric hype on the stock market. The future is traded on the stock exchange and BMW seems to have completely lost it, he said. BMW already tightened its electric targets when it presented its business figures for 2020. The Mini brand belonging to the Munich-based car maker is to reach a BEV share of at least 50% as early as 2027. And Mini is then to be completely electric from the early 2030s. 2023 is a tipping point for us. 13 pure E-models will then be on the road. Not only the number of is a criterion for us, also the breadth of the portfolio, says Zips. In 90% of the segments, our customers can then expect at least one fully electric offering, from the compact class to the absolute luxury segment. Hopefully BMW doesn't take this long to electrify all Minis. 2027 is too late. They're obviously unaware of the fact that Chinese automakers are going to provide an onslaught of electric vehicles. The EA1 will be selling many years before then in Europe at a cost that almost everybody can afford. And the perception of these Chinese vehicles will have several years to improve in the eyes of customers. What's going to happen is hundreds of thousands of people are going to buy them. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to say they're fantastic. And therefore, people will say, why not get one? Anyway, BMW Group says it is going to put out more electric cars from Mini and BMW, and that these are also to become cleaner. As BMW writes in its announcement on the occasion of the annual general meeting, for example, the next generation of battery technology, which will be introduced in the new class from the middle of the decade, too long, should replace the CO2 footprint of the whole high voltage storage system to less than half compared to the baseline values of today's Gen 5 technology. I don't understand much of that, but whatever, sounds like marketing. To achieve this, the cell manufacturers are to use green electricity, as is already implemented, while the storage concept and the cell chemistry itself are to make their contribution. Among other things, BMW wants to use an increasing proportion of secondary materials in the battery cells and the ready-to-install battery. In other words, recycled raw materials. With the new class, BMW said it wants to introduce a paradigm shift in development. Secondary first means that secondary materials are to be used wherever the quality and availability of materials allow. Sounds like more marketing spiel from BMW to me. As the first concrete examples, BMW has announced that the battery housing of the upcoming BMW iX will be made of 30% recycled aluminium. In the battery cell itself, 50% of the nickel used is to be secondary material. Recycling becomes part of the design. A climate-friendly car is not created by using green power alone, said BMW boss Sips. We have to gear our vehicles to sustainability from the first day of development, reduce the amount of raw materials used in their manufacture, and above all, think about reuse and recycling from the very beginning. Well, in my opinion, they need to think much harder about getting their fleet to be fully electric well before 2030, or none of this is going to happen. They're just going to go bankrupt. Getting back to the story, according to BMW, recycling will be considered and used in the design of future vehicles. Now, BMW is also expanding its range with electric vehicles on two wheels for urban areas. In summer, BMW plans to present the series model of the concept definition CE04 e-scooter presented last autumn. Obviously, BMW are looking at electrifying scooters. They already sell an electric scooter, and also they're electrifying their motorbikes. Now, guys, as I said, if BMW continues on this path, they will go bankrupt. There's no possible chance they can compete in a market where 50% of their vehicles are not wanted. Imagine making 100 million cars, 50 million of them are not wanted. I mean, that's an exaggeration. Of course, they won't do that. But to some measure, that will happen, and their business will be extremely inefficient. They need to do what Volkswagen has done and realize they need to transition their entire fleet immediately, as fast as they possibly can, to electric, because there will be no demand by 2030. There will be no demand by 2030. Remember how long people wanted Nokia 4630 or whatever they were called phones for? BlackBerry phones for after the iPhone came out? It wasn't very long, I can tell you that for sure. However, imagine the iPhone is available, or a similar phone from Samsung or whoever your favorite phone is, which was a smartphone, or for a higher price, you could buy an old school Nokia or BlackBerry. Which would you choose? On that note, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.